The need to keep up appearances will destroy you. Hi, I'm Bree DeLong, here for the Happier Attorney. This is the channel only for attorneys where we talk about flat fees and mindset and how to be an attorney and still have a quality of life that is amazing. And today we're going to be talking about two disgraced attorneys, Alex Murdaugh, I hope I'm saying that right, apology if I don't, and I'm not going to say this right, Tom Giradi. What they have in common, and other than both being famous and now disbarred. So there was a show in the 80s, a British comedy called Keeping Up Appearances, and it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And how this is all relevant to us is that we as attorneys, we compare ourselves to other attorneys and we put on shows and we think that everybody is more successful than us and everybody's smarter and how are they making so much money and blah, 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 right? And a lot of times it's not real. It's not real. And these two stories are cautionary tales, okay? And these facts, obviously, I don't have firsthand knowledge. This is what is in the public record. So, the backstory, this Tom Girardi, again, I hope I'm saying that right. He is a pretty famous PI attorney in California and from the book and the movie Erin Brockovich. And he was married to a real housewife, and the show portrayed their, what some would call, fairly lavish lifestyle, okay? A lifestyle that it turns out was at least subsidized by his firm's trust account, okay? He was literally getting big settlements for his clients and not distributing them. Now, I do wonder, like, how did that work in the firm? Because it wasn't just him. Anyway, they had to have an accounting department, but so I'm not sure how that worked. But anyway, sometimes he would get the settlement and then he would talk them into investing the settlement in a business deal with him. Ding, 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 right? Like you can't, you can't do that. And then, of course, there wasn't a business deal. He just kept the money. And what is concerning is that a lot of things are concerning, but he had bar complaints and evidently like nothing happened. He had this great reputation and they weren't investigated or whatever. So it took a long time for the bar to catch up with him and disbar him. And now there's some issue whether he has dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever. There's a big lawsuit. It's not a pleasant situation. And he's an elderly gentleman. So this is kind of the end of the runway. His wife has left him. His reputation is in ruin. He is financially broke. And all for what? For what? He made an incredible living. He had a good lifestyle. He had a great reputation. And I'm observing, I'm trying not to be judgmental, but for what? For keeping up appearances, for trying to have a lifestyle and pretend he had a lifestyle that he didn't have. What, impress other people to, keep his wife? I don't know. But it's just a very sad, sad cautionary tale of what happens, because I'm sure he didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm just going to steal from my clients. Okay, that's not how it happens. It probably was just, one thing after another. And, I can reach, it's a little too far, but I'll pay it back or I'll make it up or, whatever. And then it just keeps building on top of building on top of building. And for what? So, that's tale one. Tale two is 10 times worse. Okay? At least Tom wasn't accused of actually murdering people, his family. So the backstory with this Alec Murdaugh from South Carolina is that he was a successful, well-respected attorney in South Carolina. Think, old money, old family money, all right? Well, things started to get public when his wife and son were murdered in their home. And then everything started snowballing. Okay. Then he was accused of defrauding legal clients, i.e., stealing from them. Then he tried to kill himself, and it turned out it was a failed insurance scheme to get his other son some life insurance. Then there's some rumblings about the fact that his housekeeper had died in a suspicious fall accident a few years ago, and he allegedly coordinated with her family to sue himself, get the insurance settlement, and give to them. But he didn't give him the money. He kept it, okay? And now he has been indicted for killing his wife and son. And there's some accusation of drug use, which is the least of his issues, right? So and of course he is, presumed innocent until he's found guilty, blah, blah, blah. Regardless, this is a mess. His life is a hot mess that is, regardless of what happens, life as he knew it is done. So what are the common elements of these two guys? They were both successful on paper, successful Facebook-wise. Sure, and I am sure a lot of attorneys saw them and knew them and tried to emulate them or envied them and like, oh, wow, that's what I should be doing. They were both highly respected and evidently did a good job for their clients, except when they were stealing from them. And they both were living a life they couldn't afford, regardless of how much money they made. They both made a lot of money. But it doesn't matter if you're making $10 million a year if you're spending $12 million a year. It doesn't matter how much money you make. So the lessons to learn from that, both of those stories, it's easy to judge and say, I would never do that, which, yes, of course, hopefully you would never do anything that either one of them is accused of doing. And maybe not to that extent, but are you even on that road a little bit? Are you putting a little bit too much emphasis on your image, keeping up with what you think success looks like, spending more than you're making or more than you're comfortable with in order to keep up appearances? And I've certainly been there. Oh, how many times? You are not alone, okay? But lying to other people is dishonest. Lying to yourself is a slow and miserable suicide. And when you are comparing yourself to others, and it's human nature to do, but when you are comparing yourself to others, it's a fool's game, especially for someone who can fake it, right? You don't know their backstory. You don't know if they're actually successful or not. You don't know what is happening in their lives. So again, you don't know if they're in debt. You don't know. And trying to keep up appearances is always a losing game. Yes, image matters to a degree, but putting so much emphasis on image that you are living beyond your means to impress or feel successful is really there is no end of that story that ends well. There's not. And you just are continually trying to fill a cup that has no bottom. And no, you won't make it up later, okay? You're always going to get caught at some point. Either caught with way too much debt or caught, hopefully not dipping into your trust account, but clearly people do. It's always going to be a bad end of the story. So my advice, at least to consider, is, live below your means, always, regardless of the circumstances. Because anything else really leads to absolute misery. It leads to tempting decisions, and our brain plays tricks on us. So just don't put yourself in that position. And, stick with a profit first model where 15% goes off to tax, so you don't have tax issues. 10% goes to retirement and savings. You're not overspending, where if you don't have it, you're not spending it. Okay. And yes, it can feel limiting and self-conscious and embarrassing at times. All right. And I know we all want to fit in with our peers and look and feel successful. But remember the cost to that. Remember that that feeling is just a feeling. And you know what? It's okay to have 2 suits. You don't have to have 10. It's okay to have last year's shoes. It's okay. Yes, you have to look professional. Yes, maybe a decent car, but you don't have to have Mercedes if you can't afford a Mercedes. Okay? You're not, it's just not worth it. Okay? And also, when you're living below your means, if you don't have enough money, then it spurs you to increase your income. It spurs you to do what you need to do to make that money. Where when we borrow, when we are in debt or stealing, it gives you a false sense that you're making enough money and you're not. So it also is going to help to use flat fees properly to increase your income so that you can live the way you want to live without going into debt and without going down a very dangerous path. Okay. But again, even with flat fees, if you are not your underlying healthy financial habits aren't there, it's never going to be enough. Okay. Because again, remember, it doesn't matter if you make, $1 million a year if you are spending 2. All right. So if you have received any value from this video, please like, subscribe, comment so that other attorneys can see it as well, and we can help each other become happier. And if you would like more information on learning flat fees or working with me with mindset, just click below, breedalong.com, and join our mailing list. See you next time.